Hi friends, it's Becky and I am here to share with you my bargain bead box, well, bead box bargains. It's the sister store for bargain bead box. Um, companion bundle for the January bargain bead box. And it took a while for this to get to me. This was version 1. This was the one that they made available as soon as they were able to. There was a version 2 that was shipped out, and I've actually seen a few people start designing with it. Because, there have been some shipping delays, but I finally got it. And I'm ready to go through the contents of this, get them organized into a 15 grid organizer. And since I am designing an on-the-fly design with every single thing, whether it's a purchase, a bead box, a friend mail, something like that, that I get this month, I'm going to be making a little design with this on the fly. And since it's been a while since I ordered it, so I actually forget what's in here. So some of these are going to be a bit of a surprise for me, or oh yeah, that's what that was. I've got my list of everything here that I can refer to give you sizes, shapes, etc. They always include an extra in the bargain bead box bargains orders, and this was my little extra. And these are just a beautiful, beautiful set of these leaf beads. They have a center drilled hole right there in the top, and they are this gorgeous fiery red color, but there's also a few like translucent bits for that. So it's like a red and crystal swirl, or maybe red and yellow swirl, and then they've got this gold finish on it. This is a really cute set of little beads. It's red, so I don't know that it's actually going to go with this, but that's okay because there are other things it'll go with. Or I can at least save them for when I start doing fall jewelry and that sort of thing. One of the things I do when I am sharing either a purchase or something from Beadbox Bargains, or sorry, Bargain Bead Box, is I will hold up the number here. Because while the actual bundle itself sold out a while ago, individual components, like maybe these spacers, would be available on Beadbox Bargains. So if you're looking at it and you're like, oh, I would love some of those nuggets like these, I'll hold this up, and I'll also say it out loud for those who are visually impaired to be able to hear what they are. Just the number on here, so that if there's a component that you are really into, like this one, I actually noticed that they just listed this, and this is currently available, this component, at Beadbox Bargains, and it's this pendant 2973. And we'll get to that when we start going through all of those. But this was the Dusty Rose Companion Bundle, and so I'm going to be sharing all of that as I go through and just get it all sorted and get it put away. I actually love these, and I'm so glad that they included them because I was looking at these on the site and I forgot that this was in the bundle. So I'm pretty happy about that. Right, so let's look at these bead caps. These are the first ones on the list. They are cap 468. And I'm going to grab my little ladybug dish so we can put a couple of these out here, turn a couple of them over, and get them closer to the camera so you can get a better look at these. They are 10 millimeter, and there are 10 of them in this bundle. Let's get bead caps set over here in the organizer. All right, next we've got some 10-inch strand of 6 millimeter crystal faceted round beads, Rosaline. That's this one. It's 3867. I love this Rosaline color for check glass or for crystal glass. It's one of my favorite, like, soft pinks without being too pinky pink, which, I mean, if you know me, you know I'm not against a pinky pink. But, sometimes if you're designing for someone else who likes that, or you just want a soft romantic pink to go with your coppers, this is a perfect pink for that. And again, it's a 10-inch strand. I'm going to start putting these in here. There's some great check glass beads in this bundle too. Now, if you got version 2 of the bundle, you will probably have completely different beads than I've got, which is kind of a fun thing. I saw it and I didn't want to be greedy and get both of them, but it looks like a really good bundle as well. All right, so then we've got CZ6320. These are 12 by 14 check table cut cushion beads, and they are light rose colored. So I've got that table cut. They're a fantastic shape to add to all of this. Let's get them in here. I'm saving some of these bigger ones for like the longer strands of like gemstone beads so that we've got some space in there. Some of those are going to be bigger beads as well. All right, then we've got some check fire polished barrel beads. Where are my barrel beads? $66, $51. Oh no, am I missing barrel beads? Are they underneath here? Did I lose them? Oh, there, got them. $66.51. All right. They're Rosaline with Picasso. And this Picasso brings us some of those like richer, browner elements that the antique copper findings will like play around with a lot. I'm going to stick those guys in there and probably team them up roommate-wise with these ones when we get around to it. All right, next we've got some 7x8 check fire polished glass rose cut cathedral bead sets. These guys right here. This is such a fun cut for these beads. It is transparent light amethyst for the color, and if you recall, in the bargain bead box we did have some amethyst, the light amethyst color beads included in there. I'm gonna stick these guys over here. All right. Oh, and I didn't give you the number for that, did I? It's right here. Oh, I did, 6871. And then we've got the check press glass wild rose flower beads. That's these ones right here. That's $69.24. And these ones are ruby red with a nebula finish. So they are this delightful dark red, and that nebula finish gives it a little bit of a more dark, maybe purpley look to it. Let's stick them here for now. Then we've got some check glass baroque snails. That's these guys right here. This is $69.84. They're crystal with a Senegal violet luster. How fun those are. And again, I'm going to go ahead and stick them in here. We're going to have a roommate situation. I like to team up some beads, especially when there are a lot of them in some of these container areas, so that they all have a place to fit. Like if there's not very many beads. In fact, I could probably roommate situation these beads with these rose ones and have myself a little extra spot, because neither of these takes up very much space. There we go, like that. All right, and then we got, where are we? Pattern coin and teardrop chandelier links. Antique copper, that's this one. $23.79. These are 25 by 22 millimeters. So they are like an inch long, and then not, that's the front and back. There are 4 of them, and we've got some little chandelier links, so we've got holes right there along the edge. And with this space in here, you could probably do a very tiny dangle in the middle when you are creating with it, if you wanted to. These are pretty fun, actually. Once again, that's $23.79. And I'm going to stick them right in there. It's my little links. All right, next, what shall we do next? We've got a 6.5 millimeter rose quartz round beads. That's these guys right here. That is $63.42. It is a 15-inch strand. And these are beautiful. Like some of these are less pink and more purple, and then other ones are closer to quartz. And we've got a couple of even sort of yellow ones and some gray color. These are beautiful. I think I'm going to want to use some of these in whatever design I plan on doing today because they are just gorgeous. And I think with this long of a strand, it's a 15-inch strand, I don't know if I'll be able to fit all of them in one section. Actually, let's try. It's possible that I won't need the whole thing, but I can always take down this divider if I need a bigger spot for it. But since it's 6.5 millimeters, it may be that the beads are small enough that they will fit nicely in this section, especially if we've got them visiting neighbors like we do right here with that guy. All right, and now we've got, what do we got? That was the rose quartz beads, and now we've got our finely faceted rhodochrosite round beads. That's these guys right here. They are 3 millimeters, and it is a 15-inch strand, or 14.5 anyway. And the number on that is 63.62. Let's get these guys a little closer. There's some really pretty earthy pinks. They are very finely faceted. Some blacks, some pinks, some grays, a few warm colors with a little bit of yellowy, earthy browns. I like to, when I have these tiny faceted gemstones, I like to go ahead and stick them in one of the organizer sections while they're still on their string, because unstringing them when they're that tiny, it can sometimes be a little problematic trying to dig them out of the little thing, but it's a little easier to pull the whole strand out and design straight from the strand when I've got the teeny tiny beads. So that's why I like to put them in there like that. All right, next we've got our pink rhodonite tumbled nugget beads. I love these. And it's gems, 65.70 for these. Let's get up here. They are between 7 and 11 millimeters, and I have a 15-inch strand of these beautiful, beautiful beads. These are all like just perfect. Love that. Absolutely in love. And I think I can get away with them in one section. Actually, no, it's going to need a couple. So let's just ignore my world falling down around my ears behind me. I had cleared some beads out of an organizer. I stuck it in a baggie so I can sort through them later. And it was stacked on top of a thing on the shelf behind me. And if you just heard it, it just slid right off of that. So I'm going to go pick that up when I am done with this and put it somewhere a little more stable. But yeah, so sometimes I get asked, like, how many organizers do I have? And it has been asked, what do I do with the bead boxes when I'm done with them? And if I haven't used most of them, they just kind of stack on each other and get put away. But if I've used like the majority or half of them, I will take the beads out of them. And in this case, it was a bunch of my curated bead box beads that are all in a little baggie. Well, not a big little baggie, a big baggie all together, waiting for me to go through them and organize them into deeper storage. So that's just another little insight into how I organize things. All right, now that we've got that on there, we've got our glass flower blossom beads. They are magenta ombre with gold. It's these, they're 15 millimeter, and there are 10 of them. It is glass 1346. And look how pretty these are. Now something that came in the second version of this were these leaf beads. They're very similar to these, just like a little more opaque in places. And I had actually purchased these from Beadbox Bargains like in the fall. So I already had some of these. So that was another reason why when I saw the new companion bundle, I was like, well, but I already have some of these, so I'm gonna pull these out of my stash and add them to my bundle myself, because you could do that. You don't have to just use what came in a bundle. You can add things from your stash to anything that you make. But let's get a little closer to these guys so you can take a look at that finish. Get them all put away in here. And again, these are the ones that I had purchased. If you got the version 2, you will have gotten some of these beads as well. And they are these leaf beads that are these glass leaf beads, and they are super fun to design with. In fact, you could probably stack these together in something, get a little head pin in there, put some beads behind it. I'll do a design with that later. We'll do some earrings or something in one of my design sessions, but it's super fun. You can do cool things with this type of leaf and with these types of beads. Those central drilled flower beads can sometimes be a little tricky, but in fact, I know what I'm going to make with those. Never mind. Okay, I've already decided what I'm going to make as my design on the fly. So we'll get to that after I finish sorting these beads. All right, now we've got a check fire polished faceted glass rondelles. That's these guys right here, and they are also rosaline colored. It is 0539 for that product number, and there's a 10-gram bag, which is approximately 22 pieces. They are 8 by 4 millimeter. Let's get these guys on here. These are these disc beads. They've got that faceting along the edges. I've got a couple standing on their edges, so I'm being careful here so that you can see the faceting on the edges so they don't fall over flat. Aren't they pretty? I like these. They're a really, really fun bead. Whoop. And what else have we got? Filigree flower links. That's these guys right here. That's that pendant, $29.73. These will be fantastic to design with. In fact, one of the things I like to do when I get a companion bundle like this is to do a video where I do 2 sets of jewelry, one with my bargain bead box and one with my companion bundle. So we will plan for that probably this weekend. I will pull both of them out and we'll do 2 sets of jewelry together. It's one of my favorite things to do with y'all. So we'll get these involved. I know exactly how I want to use that in that design. Then we've got some Czech pressed glass top drilled trapezoid. It is pink opal. It is 23 by 24 millimeters in size. And I actually have a different color of this too in my stash. The number for this, by the way, is 30069. The other one that I got, either came in a bundle. It was probably a bundle. But I don't know if you guys remember this one. But I've got that other color of this pink trapezoid bead, and it would go really well with this too. I've also got this fantastic bird, this little ceramic bead bird that came in this. I know the version 2 also had these Baroque oval button beads that are Czech glass in it, so this is something that was in version 2 as well. And they might have had some of these same other beads. These have been in my stash for a little while, though. I can't remember when I got them though, or for what, but you know, these are some of the beads that you might expect in the version 2 bundle if you had those. I just have this sitting out here because, you know, maybe I would want to use some of these in one of those. I'm going to go ahead and stick actually all 3 of these in here, because why not move this over here so that I can just play around with it. It's meant to be something that expands your creativity so you can keep playing around in that color palette. And speaking of playing around in that color palette, this set of 80 seed beads is like perfect for this color palette. They are the Miyuki Shimmering Copper Lined Rose. I got them from Jill Wiseman's. And I've actually used this in a couple of other bead boxes that played around with, like the dusty rose kind of colors. And so I'm going to actually keep this with my stuff, but it's something from my stash that I can grab and use with it. They're super cute, pretty 80 seed beads. They make really good spacers for things. And then we've got a circle patterned round spacer beads. That's these right here. They're antique copper. There are 20 of these, and they are 8 millimeters. In size, they're pretty. I'm going to stick them right over there. And then we've got 2 more things to add here to our little bundle. And that is these leaf spacer beads. They are antique copper and they are 7 millimeters. There are 20 of these as well. The number for these is SPC 990. I did not tell you the number for these patterned spacers. That is SPC 1725. It's hard to read it there. That's a 1725. It's handwritten. I'm going to stick these leaf guys in here with these bead caps because there's plenty of room for both of them in here. And these bead caps kind of look like they have leaves on them. I mean, that's a leafy shape. That's a leafy shape. We'll put them in there with the leaves. All right. Now, last but not least, we have some woodland floral toggle clasps. And it doesn't have a label on these, but it is TOG 899 for them. And there are 4 sets of them. And they have the flower and a leaf on the circle part and a little flower and branch for the toggle bit. Let's I'm gonna stick them in here with the connectors. There we go. All right. So here, let me pull out the things that didn't come with this for your last look before we move on to designing with it for a design on the fly design. So this is what came in that version 1 companion bundle. Things that I'm adding to it are my little ceramic bird that I got a while ago from Beadbox Bargains, this other trapezoid pendant, and these leaf beads. 1324 is their number. That, if you got version 2, that also came in it. And I'm adding these seed beads to it. So if you are joining me from the past, because I will have put a little timestamp link in the description. If you're joining me from the past, we're getting ready to do a little design, and I'm thinking a bracelet design. So let's pull out our little bracelet sizer and some beading wire. Now, I was thinking this pink tourmaline beading wire would be great for it because it's this pretty dusty pink, but I think I want instead to, because I'm going to be using these flowers in my design, and the way that these are drilled with the center drill and all of that is I'm going to want to use some beading wire that will be more visible and will enhance it. So I could use the pink, but I'm thinking instead of using some copper color wire instead. So let me find my copper wire. All right, is this going to be enough? So I'm going to use the wire doubled. So I need something that will go around my wrist plus some. Okay, that's perfect. That is perfect. All right, let's get I'm going to be using the beads like this. These are just the check glass beads. And then we'll get the toggle out here. Use those. So copper colored wire. Let's move this out of the way so we're not confusing my camera. I need some crimps. And my crimper, I like to do a magical crimper when I am creating. It is my favorite way of crimping. And I've got some crimps here. Where are my copper ones? I've got some dark, some gunmetal color. That's where I put my copper ones next to these. But then again, I did also recently tidy up my desk, so I may have moved them somewhere else. Aha, copper, there we go. Copper. All right, I'm going to put this clasp all the way down on the bottom of my double strand of wire, and then slide a crimp down to right next to it, so there's, you know, enough of a loop that it can be maneuvered. This wire, by the way, has very durable coating, so I don't tend to use wire guardians with it. It's also very flexible and doesn't kink. So again, I don't need a wire guardian in order to keep it from kinking at its point of contact. So that's why I don't use them. If I was using a different type of wire, I probably would be using a wire guardian on it. And these 2x2 crimp tubes are the ones that work best with a magical crimper. So I will be using them. They're also like solid copper, so there's no seams. They will not disintegrate on you while you're crimping. And if you haven't seen a magical crimper before, let's zoom in and you can watch me do this crimp. I'll walk you through it. You want to get both of your wires through, make sure they're parallel. And then the magical crimper has a single divot in here. So what you want to do is, I'm not squeezing down yet, I'm making sure that it is centered in that little divot. I'm going to give it a little squish. You don't have to kill it, but it presses down just the corners of the crimp. Then you rotate it at a 90-degree angle, and it doesn't look pretty yet, but if you keep turning it and rotating it and just make sure it stays centered each time you do, all of those corners get smoothed out, and at the end you end up with a nice smooth round ball of crimp that will not scratch your skin, and it will hold so you don't even need a crimp cover. All right, let's get some of these out here. I'm just going to be scattering some of these onto my design as I go through. I'm going to pick up 3 of these seed beads on each strand. So 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. Go. And that gets them down here near the end. That just gives me a little buffer of separation before I start weaving through my beads. So with these flower beads with the center hole, I am going to go through front to back with one of my strands of wire and go through back to front with the other strand. Like this. And you don't want to pull it too tight because you do want to have it sort of floating in your wire. And this is one of the reasons I chose a colored wire, is because it will be a visible part of this design. Just gonna readjust that a little bit. So next I'm going to put both ends of my wire through one of these 8/0 seed beads. I think I can fit both ends through the 8/0 seed bead. Yes, I can. And this is just to, you know what, actually, I made a mistake. Before I go through the flower, I need to bring both ends of my wire together. So I'm going to do, I've got the 3 on each, and then I'm going to put them both through the same 8/0 seed bead at the same time, just to bring my wires together. Because otherwise, you saw they just kept floating in front of the flower bead. There we go. Now I can go through the flower bead in both directions. And again, I don't want to pull it tight. I want to arrange it. There we go. Like that. Boom, that is so much better. Okay. So now on the other side, I'm going to grab another 8/0. To bring the wire back together. If it doesn't go through the hole on one of them, try again on another bead. There you go, like that. Now the table cut bead, and I've got both wires going through that one, and then another 8/0 on both wires. And now I need to figure out which. Okay, that is the one that will go through the front. I was just making sure it's the same wire that I had on the other one. And then this is the wire that will go through the back. And I just did that by pulling on just one of them and seeing which one tightened up on the other side of those beads. Oh, buddy. This way, you can try to make sure that all of these flowers face the same direction when it's being worn, because it'll be worn about like that. This is like cherry blossoms, actually. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling cherry blossoms with this. I'm just going to keep going until I get to the length that I want. I will check the length on my mandrel in a little bit after I've got a few more of these on here. But now that I know how I want it to look, it is turning out exactly how I expected. How pretty are those? All right, now which? Okay, that's the back. Now, one tip that a friend suggested when I had to figure out which is which for front or back on wire things when I was doing this on a previous thing was to color one of the ends of the wire with a Sharpie, and I should do that, but my Sharpies are currently far away from my desk, so I am going to just continue on the way I'm going. But if you have a Sharpie, that is a very useful tip for you. All right. By the way, the wire that I am using, it is the 49 strand soft flex wire in the copper color. That's why I'm saying it has a really good coating, sturdy, and it's flexible. So this design works really well with that wire. If you have another 49 strand wire, you could probably do this exact same design with it. Go. All right, so I have strung all the beads that I had out. Let's verify my length real quick with my mandrel. And I think this might be exactly the right size. Let me get a couple more beads here on the end to both help lengthen it out and also to give me a little bit of a bookend. I've got a seed bead right here. So let's do 3 of these 8/0 seed beads on each strand, and then we'll bring them back together. One, two, three, like this. And I'm going to bring them together going in one direction. With this crimp. Then I'll need to do a second crimp for the loop that my toggle will be attached to. And I like to, with the bar part of my toggle clasps, I like to do at least a jump ring, or I actually have a little sort of infinity link that I made the other day just sitting on my desk that I think would make a really good little attachment bit for this. And that's just to give it more articulation than you would get on your work if you don't. And these are the Campbell Creations ones. I did a little review of them when I got one, and I have been finding it incredibly useful to have right here on my desk. So they should. It was designed by Amy Campbell, and Heather Aston has been helping with orders and that sort of thing. If you're not part of the Campbell Creations Facebook group, you may not be as familiar with Heather, but yeah, it's been really fun having that. All right, so I'm just going to do the same type of crimp that I did before. Just bringing these together. I made sure that I had a little bit of space between my crimp and these beads. If you need to just stick your fingernail in between them to move them away, you can. That way you'll be able to actually center your crimp and also not smush your beads when you're doing that. All right, I'm going to snip off one of these wires because I'm done. One thing about these copper crimps is they are pretty thick-walled, which means they're not budging, they're not going anywhere. But it also means that I can't fit more than 2 strands of this through a crimp, which is why I need to double crimp this. So I've got my 1 crimp here, and I'm just gonna grab one of these beads as another spacer between that crimp and the next crimp. So they're not just like 2 crimps in a row, that sort of thing. And since I'm using this and it is openable on both sides, I'm not going to worry about going through my thing that I'm attaching. I'm simply going to double back on this and just make a loop. And then I'll just attach to my loop. After I'm done, let's shift that down there. Give this a pull through. There we go. Now I've got a decent sized loop. I can crimp this second crimp over here on this end. Cut off my excess wire there. And there we have it. All right, now you could do jump rings instead of this. I just happen to have this. It's not even a perfect infinity loop, but it is close enough. It's made with 18 gauge wire. And I'm just going to grab this larger end and attach it to my loop here. I'm just using my chain nose pliers to open and close this loop. You just swing it open like you do a jump ring. And then on the other end, I'm going to swing that open like that. So it's twisted to the side. And put that through. It is rotating in the way, so I can't get to my thing. There we go. Now that I've got my toggle on, I can have that go through there. There we go. That is the perfect size. There we go. Got a cherry blossom bracelet. And I did that with the beads that came in the Bead Box Bargains companion bundle for the January bargain bead box. That's the Dusty Rose. All I added for this were those extra 8-ohs and some chain. The rest of everything just came in here. All right, I will put a link in the description below to my unboxing of the bargain bead box if you would like to see what's in that. I'll also put a link to bargain bead box. There's a coupon code in the description that you can use to get some money off of your first months of it if you are interested in subscribing. It is one of the best value for money bargain bead box bead boxes out there. You always get really high quality beads findings. They are beautifully curated, and again, it's the best value for money. It is not a very expensive box at all. And then on top of that, you also get a 30% off coupon that you can use at the sister store every month. And so when they listed this, I was able to use my coupon and get it for less than it would have been at their already discounted retail prices. So I'm going to go ahead and leave you right now, and if you like what you see, hit the like button. If you want to see more, hit subscribe, and until next time, happy beading.